You want to reward your team, but you're not sure if the business can afford it. Trust me, I've been there. Hey guys, I'm Ben Gerster, and I built my agency to over $400,000 in monthly reoccurring revenue, and I'm here to help other agency founders learn how to do exactly the same thing, going from the grind to growth. Now, in our agencies, one of the most important topics that will come up over and over is incentivizing your team. And I believe firmly in incentivizing a team. It is a powerful way to get alignment between your team and your business goals. But some of the challenges I had over the years, and trust me, I have tried every single type of bonus structure you could possibly imagine. And I've been burned on quite a few of them because I feel that they are just misaligned with the priorities of the company. There's a few things I've recognized. One of the biggest ones for me was it felt very uncomfortable to be talking about the profit in my business with my employees. First of all, I didn't quite know whether that profit would be maintained from year to year to year, and I didn't want my team feeling like I was making all this extra money when realistically I needed to use that profit to safeguard the business, to reinvest in the business, and to get us through different times where we might not be as profitable. So I wanted to make sure that I had a way of working with my team and rewarding them for when we were profitable, but without having to completely undress myself and our finances in front of my entire company. And this system that I'm going to show you today does exactly that. Now, one of the other things that I realized is typical bonuses can be really difficult where there's a great year and you've got a really big bonus incentive on your team and that bonus is delivered at the end of the year. What I found is some of my team members just waited. They knew they were going to leave the company and they waited for that bonus to come. They would get their bonus check and then they would turn in their 2 weeks. And that really is an awful place to be as a business owner where you write a very large check to some of your best people and they turn around and they quit immediately following. So how do we solve this problem, get true alignment? Let's take a look at our bonus structure. The first thing to keep in mind as we talk game theory of business, business is a game. It does have its own rules and its own frameworks. And today's game theory that we're talking about is that the incentives that we give must drive profit in our agency. They should not drain it. So let's look at this framework. Number one, I want to look at two different types of bonuses in the business. I have key leaders and I have the rest of the team. And those are two different categories of incentivization in the business. I want both to be incentivized. But the main priority that I have is that these bonuses are, number one, tied to our goals and targets as an agency. When we hit those targets, the team should benefit. If we don't hit those targets, the team shouldn't necessarily benefit. I don't like having bonuses that are simply tied to profitability because that doesn't mean that we've actually hit our targets and taken forward progress as a business. Maintaining profitability is not the objective. Growth is the objective. So I always tie bonuses to growth targets. Annually, you should be setting growth targets. Those growth targets should be part of the bigger picture of the business where you're trying to get to in the next 3 to 5 years. And so benchmarking what each year's growth should look like to get you to that 3-year target is a first step in setting your bonus structure. Once you know your annual target, then you can take your annual target and break that down into quarterly targets. Those quarterly targets are how we will tie our bonus to our whole team. Our average team member will be bonused off of a quarter of performance. Let's dive into the detail on this. As I mentioned earlier, I don't like to have to talk about net profit, our EBITDA. I want to talk about a different target, a metric that we can use that is a little less fully transparent. And now keep in mind, as a business owner, there's a lot of things you need to do to be able to offset taxes, whether you're writing off a company vehicle, whether you have other types of expenses that you're bringing in, whether you need to make certain other decisions in the company, like bringing on a new software or hiring a new key team member. These are things I don't want to penalize my team for because we're doing them strategically to grow the business. That should not impact their bonus eligibility. So by tying bonus to a different measurement as opposed to EBITDA, we can tie it to something called AGI, which is the adjusted gross income of the business. Adjusted gross income is simply calculated by top line revenue minus the cost of goods sold equals your adjusted gross income. And this is before all of the other expenses that are overhead to the agency. So this is something that does a few things for us. Number one, the team does get transparency. They do understand our top line revenue, and they do have an understanding of the controllable cost of goods sold. And so this is a way for us to speak about profitability and growth without having to go all the way down to our EBITDA number. If we hit the quarterly target, everybody gets a flat bonus based on their level in the business. So we set up a simple structure of executive level versus standard team level. There are two different bonus thresholds there. Executive level, for example, might be a $1,000 bonus. The team level might be a $500 bonus. However you want to structure that, that's how we would look at these types of bonuses. It's a bonus program that is also focused on retention and revenue. Again, here the team is hunting after the same goals for retaining our clients and growing new revenue for the business in order to maintain these targets. If we lose clients, it's going to be a lot harder for us to hit these quarterly targets. And that's what we want our team focused on, is serving our existing clients and helping us onboard new clients and keeping them happy. If we miss the target, there is no bonus in a quarter. That's just the way that goes. And we always can work hard in the next quarter. And what I also like about this structure is if we were to just say the annual target, that might be hard for our team to be able to hit. If we have a bad first quarter, we may not hit that annual target. The team shouldn't necessarily be penalized for that. And so if we have a bad first quarter, but we do really good and hit our normal pace in quarter two, there's still a bonus opportunity for the team. And I think that's really important to keep them excited and motivated. This also supports a short-term clarity for the team where they're really focused on a short-term target. It keeps them very motivated and it gives them a sense of immediate results. Every quarter there is a new challenge that resets that we all chase together and we're trying to hit that bonus eligibility. Now the other type of bonus is a long-term bonus, and this is for your top key team members, usually your top 1 or 2 people that are in the agency that have the biggest responsibilities in the agency and that are seen as essential and critical to the long-term success of the business. Now here, we want to be looking at a percentage of annual profit because these key leaders will have a lot more involvement in the decision making on our expenses, and we want them to make decisions with profit in mind. And so we want to incentivize them on bottom line profit. And these team members will have full transparency to our P&L, and they will be very clear on what is driving profitability in the business. Now, the thing here is a long-term incentive plan. We want to incentivize these key leaders for staying with the business and helping grow the business over the long haul. And the way to structure that engagement is to do a vesting schedule on the bonusing structure. So the percentage of profit at the end of the year will go into a holding account. That holding account has a vesting schedule on it, usually a couple years before that employee can start to draft and take withdrawals from that account. Again, incentivizing long-term retention of the team member. After 2 years, they can begin withdrawing a certain percentage of whatever's in that account. You could set that at 50%, you could set it at 25%, but you want to be able to reward the employee at this point in 2 years where they can start to pull down a large amount of whatever is being held in that account. And for the next 3 years, every year, they will receive a new deposit of bonus incentive into the account, and they can withdraw that same 50% most likely percent of the account. By 5 years, the account gets full maturity and they can begin taking 100% of what's in that account out. You can always extend these agreements if the business is in a position in year 5 where it makes sense to continue to have an incentive plan like this. So there's flexibility in it, which is really great. But there is one key piece here that if the employee leaves the company, then they forfeit whatever is in that account. So those bonus dollars are retained by the agency should the employee leave the business before they are fully vested and can withdraw all funds out of the account. So retention without equity is the key here. Equity is really tricky for a small business. Doing shares or stocks or any of these things in the business is highly complex. It costs a lot of money to set up those structures. So it was never feasible for me to be able to put something like that into my agency. And equity is a tricky thing because if the employee decides to leave, then you have this piece of equity in the business that gets sticky. I always wanted to keep it super simple and never give up equity in the business that I own, that I'm pouring my blood, sweat, and tears into, and that I'm taking all financial risks for. This was the strategy that worked best, and this strategy plays a very important role as you look at potentially selling or exiting your business because it supports the leadership team staying on board post-exit because of the long-term structure of the incentive plan. The big takeaway here and the big win of both of these structures are that, number one, they align the team with business growth. Both our best top leaders and our team are aligned with the same priorities of growth in the business and achieving our targets. It protects our profit margins because we are not guaranteeing bonuses simply based on profitability across all team members. And it builds a performance culture. Everybody understands what the annual growth goals are, what our quarterly growth goals are, and decision making is improved across every role in the company around supporting those targets and maintaining optimal profitability. And it scales with the business. This is a very achievable structure that will grow nicely as the business grows, and it will not be a disproportionate bonusing structure as the business reaches full maturity. It is manageable and it is a controllable cost to the business. Bonuses shouldn't be a burden on the business. They should be part of your culture, your retention, and your growth strategy. That's how you scale with your team and reward them along the way. If you found this video helpful, click that like button, subscribe to my channel, and drop a comment below with any other structures you've come up with that you feel are great ways to incentivize your team. Until the next time, stay hungry, stay focused, and keep hustling.